Hey everyone, my name is Chloe and welcome to another day of Favorites Week. So if you guys haven't seen these videos, I could not decide a cumulative list of favorite books for the year of 2024. So I am releasing a different video every day this week with my different favorites in different genres. So these are all books that I read in 2024, not necessarily ones that came out in 2024. And today we're going to talk about historical books. So historical is not always my favorite genre. And so I was really surprised to see that I had a solid 10 books that were my very favorite that I read and would highly recommend. So let's just get into it. Like I said, this is going to be my top 10. And the first one is Keeping Lucy by T. Greenwood. So this one takes place in the 60s and 70s. And a woman has a baby and she is born with Down syndrome. And so unbeknownst to her, her husband and father-in-law decide to send this baby to a institution. And now 2 years later, she has had no contact with the baby. And she kind of gets tipped off that the place is a little bit horrible. And so she decides to go there and sees that it is in fact horrible. She checks her daughter out for the weekend to take her, just to hang out with her for the weekend. And she is debating, do I send her back or not? And so it's so tense because you're wondering, she can't keep her kid. That's not legal. And yet, golly, you would want to. And I just think it was so good and definitely a what would you do kind of moral dilemma situation. Then we have The Lost Children by Shirley Dixon. This is a World War II book about two 8-year-olds who are sent to the English countryside to be safe during World War II. And they're twins, and they're 8 years old. It's a boy-girl twin, and she has cerebral palsy. And so we follow these 8-year-olds as they are going to different homes, and they're really... the sibling bond is what I loved about this book. It is a wartime book, but it is more about the siblings and their journey with different caretakers and discovering which one of them is the strong one, or what does it mean to be strong, because one has cerebral palsy and is very physically weak. But they are both so strong and such, I fell in love with these kids and these characters, and I just loved it. Then we have A Woman's Place by Lynn Austen. So this one follows 4 different women, again, during World War II, and they're kind of unlikely friendship as they all work in an American factory. And so we've got 4 very different stories, all with men or husbands deployed, but they're also working in some sort of, I can't remember what kind of factory, but it was really interesting. And just a perspective, it's more about the female friendship, but the historical background is definitely there. Then we have Carrie SoDo's Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So this is historical in the 80s, which is crazy that's historical, but this is about a tennis star who decides to come out of retirement because one of her titles is being threatened. And I feel like I don't need to say any more about this, but Carrie SoDo tries to rehab and get herself back, and it is so good. Again, Taylor Jenkins Reid writes these characters that I feel like they were real characters. I needed to go Google it. Carrie SoDo, her trainer and manager became her dad, and so there's that relationship, definitely a la Williams sisters. Just so good. Then we have The Women by Kristen Hanna. Again, one that I don't feel like I need to say very much about. It is about a nurse during Vietnam and her experience both before, during, and after the war, and just the horrific things she was a part of and witnessed and went through, and yet the utter disgust basically that people treated her with, and the lack of respect, and even among her own family. It was just, she was so downplayed, and she went through a lot of hardships. I don't love the romance necessarily in this book, but overall it was a very, very good read. Then we have A Lineage of Grace by Francine Rivers. So this is a bind-up, actually, of 5 kind of novellas about 5 women that lead up to Jesus. So we have Tamar, Rahab, Ruth, Bathsheba, and Mary. And it's a biblical fiction. So we get what we're told in the Bible, but we also get an expansion of that. And I just thought this really got me into biblical fiction and just wondering what these women's lives may have been like, and getting to know, we know the whole bigger picture of the Bible. And so knowing just their slice of it and the pivotal piece that they played to get to Jesus, I think was so interesting, and just such, like I said, it was my gateway into biblical fiction. Then we have They Went Left by Monica Hesse. So this is about a family that is taken to the concentration camps, and everybody that goes left is immediately killed. So it's about this girl and her brother and she were the only survivors, the only ones that went right. So now it's post World War II, and she's trying to find her brother. And it was a really interesting commentary on what post-war was like for Jewish people and the anti-Semitism that was still so very strong. And there's a lot of found family elements as she's trying to find her brother. And I didn't love, like, there is a romance, and I didn't love the ending, but it does give you a sense of like hope and redemption. And so I really enjoyed that. And overall, it was a really interesting take on post-war for survivors and like the mental health journey that, you know, she experiences all the things throughout the book, and as you very realistically would. And it was just really interesting. Then we have The Book of Lost Names by Kristen Harmel. So I think this might have been my first Kristen Harmel. I'm not really sure, but this is about a woman, present day. She's an old lady. She works in a library, and everybody's like, oh, you poor old lady. But she's very sharp. And, she sees in a newspaper or on TV or something, this man who has this book of lost names throughout the war. And so we flash back to her experience through the war. And she was a French Jewish girl being raised in France by Polish Jewish people. And so obviously her family was very in danger. And yet she chose to work for the resistance in creating ID cards and helping kind of Jewish people, Jewish kids, especially find homes. And I loved it. There's a commentary on motherhood and friendship and romance. I will say the pacing was a little bit off. The middle got a little slow, and then the end was really, really fast. But overall, I really enjoyed it. Then we have The Pull of the Stars by Emma Donoghue. So this is a book about the Spanish flu, and it's all told from the perspective of a labor and delivery nurse or a maternity nurse, and all she experiences during that time of the flu. And it all takes place basically in like one room, and yet, and not at one point, but it all takes place like in the hospital, and yet there's so much commentary, friendship. There is a romance in this book that I did not like at all and did not think it was necessary, but overall, like, it was a harrowing but very interesting book. And then last we have one that I just recently read, and it was Between Friends by Debbie McComber. So Debbie McComber is not who I would go to for historical. I didn't even know she did historical. And yet this one is about two different women, but we meet others and their experience through life, starting in the 30s, I think, and coming through to the early 2000s. And all the different wars they experienced, from World War II to the Vietnam to the war in Iraq, and just the people in their lives, the friends that they make, things, you know, a lot of things happen, of course, and we follow these women. And so I very highly recommend it, and it was shocked that it came from Miss Debbie. But that is my list of my favorite historical fiction from 2024. What is your favorite historical fiction? Are there any that I should pick up? I tried not to make this list all World War II because I still like World War II, but I love other things too. So let me know, what are your favorites? We'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.